Hello and welcome to ET Now. We have with us Sir Martin Sorrell. He is the founder and executive chairman at S4 Capital. Sir, thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be with you on your first time here.
Yeah,
Thank you. You're a virgin.
Thank you. We are in an uncertain world. We have geopolitical issues which are going around. We have inflation, we have tariff. And in between that, we have the advertising industry which is shrinking in some way.
It's not shrinking. Advertising is increasing. It's certainly more challenging for traditional media, right? For digital, the industry is $1 trillion. The digital part of it is growing. We'll see tonight Meta and Alphabet report their earnings on Q3. Q1 and Q2, they're up 15 or 20% in terms of ad revenue. The traditional piece, the 300 billion that's traditional, is going backwards. If you don't have live sports, you don't have the IPL, you're dead. Now you go down by 10 or 15% a year. If you do have live sports, you probably go down by 0 to 5 to 10. So there are two industries really. Digital, which is exploding, and you see that in India, and continues to grow, 700 billion, growing at 10, 15, 20%. And traditional declining, getting under pressure. The overall industry is growing. Last year it was $1 trillion. This year, between those two, it'll grow by about 7-8%. So it's not falling. And then it's dominated by the platforms. Alphabet at 250 billion, Meta at 150 billion, Amazon at 60, and TikTok outside China at 40. So those four platforms alone are half the market, 500 billion. And they are 5/7 or 70% of the digital piece, the 700 billion. So it's not declining. It's the traditional piece.
Media means as we know it. But do you see revenue monetization happening in a bigger way in digital medium as compared to traditional medium?
Well, you know, we were talking before we started about the impact of AI on our business. So it impacts it in terms of visualization and copywriting. That means the time that it takes and the cost of creating content, that's collapsing, right? So you have to shift the model from revenue base to output. You know, how many assets do we produce for you or for the client? That's one thing. The second thing is personalization at scale, the Netflix model, as I call it, on steroids. So using first-party data, that is consented consumer data that clients have, using that data with the signals from the platforms to personalize community. You like cricket or you like football, we'll tailor ads for you which, you know, have a cricket theme or a football theme, whatever it happens to be, or you're moving house, so we serve you with ads that, you know, for when you're moving house, whatever it happens to be. That's the second big area. The third big area is media planning and buying, automating that at scale. That $1 trillion that I mentioned, the 700 billion in digital, 300 billion traditional, and analysing that as you would if you were a fund manager with equities or property or crypto or gold or private equity. What's my mix? Use algorithms for that. Our industry is still manual. General efficiency, like we're working with some Indian companies on how they can do outside broadcasting. We're doing it with AWS, with NVIDIA and Adobe, how we can reduce the cost of outside broadcasting by 80 or 90% using AI and the cloud rather than trucks. And then the final area is what I call democratization of knowledge, where we spread knowledge through the firm and reduce the layering. You know, Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, has apparently 51 direct reports. He doesn't do one-to-one meetings. He sets KPIs. So, and the reason is that they can spread knowledge using AI throughout the organization, so everybody understands. Because what happens inside companies is they become very siloed, agencies as well, and people maintain their power base by controlling information. If information is disseminated freely through the organization, you can flatten it, make it more efficient.
So the traditional advertising may be shrinking, as you said.
Yes.
But also organizations are also shrinking, right? In that sense. Organizations?
Well, it's interesting because in the last couple of days we've seen, you know, Amazon, for I think,
14,000
people, and there was one other, I think it was UPS.
Yes.
49,000 was there? It was a huge number. So whether that's to do with the economic situation or whether that's to do with AI, it's very difficult to figure out, because my view would be AI has not developed the momentum yet to cause that. You know, it's a bit like graduate intakes. A lot of people are saying that the decline in demand for graduates is to do with AI. I think that's too early. I think that's more to do with what, for example, in the UK, what may be going on with the economy, rather than AI. AI will do that, because, you know, in preparation for an interview with you, you know, if you gave me 6 topics that you wanted to talk about, and I didn't, as I don't know anything about them, I would go to Gemini or whatever, and I would find out. And I can do that in a nanosecond, whereas before I'd have to go to a library or written sources or whatever. So it will happen. My own view is that AI will reduce the demand for labour. There was a famous economist, or was a famous economist in the UK called John Maynard Keynes, and he wrote a pamphlet, I think in 1932, on the impact of automation on the demand for labour, and his basic conclusion is we have more holidays. I think we're going to have more holidays. He was right, but it was 100 and so years too early. So my view is, in our industry, in the visualization and copywriting, there will be fewer copywriters and art directors. With personalization at scale, probably more people. With media planning and buying, less people. General efficiency, probably even Stephen, maybe a bit more opportunity. Democratization of knowledge, probably more opportunity. Overall, I think there'll be a reduction in the headcount. Now, some of the things we're starting to see that you mentioned and happened the last couple of days have raised the questions in people's minds, and obviously in your mind too, as to what may be happening. I think it's early.
You said creative people will be there, but the cost of producing and advertising
goes right down.
Well, and so the revenue for this industry also shrinks.
Well, depends on the volume. If you can shift the model from revenue, like, you know, S4 Monks, we operate in India and New Delhi, and in Mumbai, and you know, if you can shift the model from a time-based model to output, and if I'm producing literally millions of different assets, that may not be the case. But you're right to make the point. So the traditional holding companies, Publicis and Omnicom, which is now merging with IPG or taking over IPG, a WPP, a Dentsu, probably somewhere between, I would say, 25 and 40% of their revenue is in some way related to traditional means of producing content. That is going to become under pressure. So unless they flip their model, so this is a bit like newspapers, right? Yeah. You might move from, you know, felling trees and
to internet and
newsprint to a digital thing, same thing. Right? How do you change your model rapidly? We are not rooted at Monks. You know, we do about $1 billion of revenue, gross. That revenue does not come from traditional media at all. It's all digital. It's all data-driven. We're in the business of doing things quicker, more efficiently, and more effectively, reducing cost. And then we're one brand. We're not multiple brands. So I think we have an advantage. But, you know, to your point, it's not easy. It's also not easy when the tech companies are spending $500 billion a year on capex, you know, on data infrastructure, on energy, on AI infrastructure, and that market structure I mentioned. You know, the 4 platforms plus Alibaba and Tencent. You know, ByteDance, the 3 Chinese, the 3 Western, the 6 together are the dominant ones, and they are spending huge amounts of money on capex to reinforce their position with AI, and it's not going to change.
So, you know, when you were at WPP, you were one of the drivers of consolidation in the industry. You think going to see this further coming in because...
Well, the reason for consolidation then was different. It wasn't because of
to gain market share at that point in time. But
Well, you've got to remember it was about globalization.
Yeah.
There are two buckets, geographic and technological. When I was at Saatchi's before WPP, when I was CFO and at WPP, certainly in the early days, I was there for 33 years at WPP, I would say the first 15, 20 years was dominated by globalization. Somebody you won't know or remember, Ted Levitt was a professor at Harvard Business School. Consumers will consume everything in the same way everywhere. Wrote that article in 1983. That was the manifesto for Saatchi's and for WPP. Then we saw the rise of the internet, the smartphone, and now AI. So technology to the fore, and the geopolitical stuff that you mentioned: U.S., China, Russia, Iran, plus tariffs on top, mean that looking for geographical growth is more difficult. The world is going to grow more slowly. Inflation is more stubborn. Interest rates are higher than we've been used to. In that world, efficiency is going to be really important. So the two big things are, this is where India scores. India scores because geographically it's in the right place. It's growing faster than the average. It grows at 5 or 6%.
one of the fastest growing economy.
Absolutely, right? And then the second thing, it has a technological backbone and great people, technological people, who can help implement technology. The thing that India is going to be a challenge for is when President Trump wants to bring manufacturing back to America, I think he's half right. Manufacturing will come back, but AI is hollowing out the bottom of the pyramid. Yeah. So the work of the manufacturing pyramid, so the work that got done in India because of lower cost, great tech people, is going to migrate back to the US, but it's going to be done by robots, not by people. So AI will be doing it. So you will have more efficient manufacturing because of AI, but it's going to be capital intensive, not people intensive. So I think that's why I think he's half right on it.
So his entire idea of moving jobs or manufacturing back to the US may not yield the kind of result that he wants, which is more jobs for Americans.
No, my view is I think it's going to be difficult to do that. We have to see how it works out because on the really positive side of AI, Ruth Porat here in the opening sessions was talking about the impact on health, and at Google Zeitgeist she made a very good presentation around health and what AI is doing for cancer. I had a cancer operation about 3 years ago, and so I know firsthand how important it is. And so the tremendous mold-breaking things that AI is doing. But on the other hand, certainly in established lines of work, like we've been talking about in the advertising industry, it's going to have an impact on the number of people employed in certain areas. Sam Altman early on said that 95% of, I don't know where you got the figure from, but it was probably a good headline, 95% of the jobs in advertising would be affected or removed by AI. I don't think that's true, but I think
that's overstated.
Sorry,
it's overstated.
Overstated, but directionally it's true.
What about marketing budgets? Because that's also shrinking a lot.
Well, no, they're not shrinking.
I would say cost efficiencies pushing marketing budgets lower.
Well, look, certainly packaged goods companies, for example, priced up during COVID. Now, I was on a call this morning with Australia. I did a session at a marketing conference with 400 marketing executives. And whilst I was waiting, I was listening to a presentation on Mondelez, actually on Cadbury's, right? And it was worked by Ogilvy. And I must say here, we're all saddened by the loss of Piyush Pandey. Yeah, wonderful. I mean, Ogilvy has lost, or WPP has lost two.
He's a gem of a person, actually.
Piyush was a gem, and the other one was Sergio Amado in Brazil, who led Ogilvy and WPP in Brazil. So Piyush, we miss him, and we send our condolences and wish his family long life. But I think I was talking at this conference about Cadbury's and how it was growing as as a thing. And we were talking, they priced up, the guy making the presentation said that in the last few years they had increased the price because of commodity price increases by 50%.
So cocoa prices went up?
Absolutely, so they had to increase the prices. So what's happening is that pricing up through COVID, and maybe in some cases, I'm not suggesting mondelez, but in some cases, overpricing up, has meant there's been pressure on volumes. And we've seen volumes come under pressure. So what people are trying to do is look for growth. And the other thing is they're trying to become more efficient. Because if you can reduce your create costs as a proportion of media costs, let's say that the create costs are running at 15 to 20 when they should be 10 to 15 or 10. That's where I think they should be. You can take that money and invest it in media to increase sales. So what's happening is people are taking money out of create by using AI to become more efficiency and redeploying that money in media. So it should be good for the Times network.
Tell me one thing, AI videos.
Yes.
That's one of the biggest challenge for this industry.
Videos, AI film or AI content, huge growth. I mean, I think.
But isn't that a challenge for this industry as well?
No, we're doing about 35 of them, I think, at the moment. No, it's fantastic. The technology enables you to do things that you couldn't. I mean, basically, instead of spending $2 or $3 million on a film for 4 months in some exotic location, Kerala or somewhere, you can do it, in days in a studio. So, no, I disagree. I think this gives much more flexibility, much more agility, and the ability to create huge amounts of content at scale, personalized for people using data. I mean, the issue is our industry, and Piyush, would have had a view on this, or did have a view on this. Traditional values are around strategic and creative. That's the thrust. Now, in addition to strategic and creative, it has to be around data, and it has to be around tech. Our industry took a rather snotty, the leaders of our industry took a rather snotty attitude towards tech and data, and that's wrong. Our industry, if it's art and science, if it's left brain and right brain, however you describe it, the science piece is becoming, whether we like it or not, is becoming more and more important.
Do you think with more digital advertising happening, it's the scrutiny on advertising as a whole, or the creativity also increases, because now you can easily measure the return on investment, which
there is no doubt one of the reasons for the growth of digital that we talked about at the beginning, the growth and the scale, one of the reasons why that's happened is measurability is easier. The old Lord Unilever or Sam Wanamaker quote, I know I waste half my advertising, but I don't know which half. Is not, it might be, I know I waste 25%, but I don't know which 25%. So it's being reduced, and it's much more measurable, you're right. And that's because of the use of data. The other thing I think that's interesting, which is sacrilegious, is I think our clients have become more short-term. Whether it's because of Donald Trump is trying to move from quarterly reporting to 6-monthly reporting, whether it's because we're too quarterly focused, and he says the Chinese are much more long-term focused, or not. I think maybe it's because of technology and the revolutionary impact of new technology making people much more short-term in their thinking. Maybe it's the volatility in the economy that we see, the geopolitical stuff, the uncertainty, the tariffs, etc., making people much more short-term. So they want results. And digital, you can see the results a little bit more easily, to put it mildly, than you can with traditional.
So, you mentioned the fact that previously you had people taking 4 months to build a campaign,
yes,
and then the campaign needs to run for years or multi-years. But now, because short-term approach, you do it, maybe release a campaign every month or every quarter.
One packaged goods company said on average it took them 200 days to produce a piece of film. So we took the chat, we said we'll do it in 15 days, and we did it in 12. And they said, well, you can't with agentic, with machine-driven ads, build stories. Well, in this particular case, we built a brand story into the ad. So you can do brand advertising using agentic work.
And you're doing a lot of stuff at Monk as well?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we're doing huge amounts at the moment. I think we've got 35 projects on.
And do you think that this is the way forward for the industry as well?
Well, whether the industry likes it or not, I think it's going to happen. And, you know, the other thing that we see is clients, because you have to be more agile, because you have to take back more control of things. You know, after the great financial crisis, the CFOs inside companies said, get rid of the people, you know, we want... So it was a lot of it was outsourced. Too much has been outsourced. So we have three models. We have the traditional outsource model to us, the embedded model where we put people in to the client, and then the in-house model. So that's what we're doing all the time. So I think really three things clients have to be. They have to be agile, they have to take back control, they have to have first-party data.
Sir Martin Sorrell, it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Sorry about my voice.
Thank you.